And welcome back to part 12 of the Shadow of the Colossus. I actually clicked on the wrong video, so we're going to have to start over. No, I didn't. Fuck. And welcome back to part 12 of Shadow of the Colossus. Last time we beat up an asshole. This time we're in for, easily described, probably the most tedious Colossus in the game. At least initially it was. But this one is also a bit of a dick.
We're just going all around the extremities at this point.
Pretty much. This one's a femur. Remember how, remember I told you about that one where it was like I had to fight it in the water and it sucked?
I assumed you meant the sea serpent for that one.
No! Guess what? This is it.
Oh, great.
But you know what? I feel proud of myself for this one. Because this points out another situation of me saying fuck you to the game's strategy. I do what I want. But this weird-looking guy right here, which is honestly a bit of a mystery of what he is, period, even after we see him, is our next battle. Kind of in a similar landscape of where we fought the bird, but nowhere near the bird. Anyway, you'll see.
It looked kind of like a centaur.
A bit. This one's kind of a bit on the confusing side, and I've always kind of questioned, well, his anatomy. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. I just want him to come up to me all cool, like right here. Maybe my little sneak attack will work this time if he gets closer.
I like how you keep slightly eye-checking him to the side.
Nope, he is made of steel. That feels good, buddy.
A little lower.
Too low. Lower. Now, this is one where, when the first time I got to him, it took forever, because this is where my fear of Shadow of the Colossus forests come from. Plus, I get to show another little handy-dandy bridge, one we haven't used yet. Well, we've had no real excuse to use it, but either way. See, I'm not gonna let those little ridge things fake me out. I finally figured out that I could probably just walk around them. Or he slows down regardless, whatever. I like a horse looked back to me like all cheeky, like, I slowed down anyway. I like these ideas that these things come off as almost natural structures, but also built. Like maybe whatever society came around is built around nature itself, but then kind of abused it. So always there's a natural bridge, but then we got these like stone steps with these giant pillars.
Yeah.
Makes you curious the society at all. Oh well, I guess we'll never know. Anyway, let's keep going.
Shadow of the Colossus, everybody.
Vague as shit. So, if you can kind of see over there, there's another forest over there. Avoid it, like, with all of your heart content, just for safety, to get away from that thing, because you will get lost in there if you think that's a way. But we still have to go into it is the problem.
Honestly, from the distance, it looked like a window that someone had cracked with a baseball.
See? It's nature messing with handmade. So, biggest mistake you can make here is thinking that you have to spend a lot of time in this forest. You remember what happened last time we were in the forest? My horse was drunk.
Must jump!
It's so dark here, So I'm thinking, can I avoid this? Nope. Can't avoid this. Alright. Time to go in these dark woods in a crevice. Or wall, too. I'm glad he kind of starts figuring things out. We can get frustrating sometimes when he turns his own way. But see, we'll just completely avoid the forest. Because, see, it fakes you out. The other passage is just right there.
And there's nothing on the other side of the forest?
Nope. Just a wall.
Wow.
It's really fucked up. And I remember getting lost there for like 30 minutes going like, where do I go? How do I get here? And I looked to the side, I'm like, oh my god. It's one door away. One thing I do kind of wish in this game is you had some, like, kind of like a Skyward Sword parachute that I could jump down these little cliffs and kind of explore the nature below.
No, I know they made aggro smart enough to not fall off a cliff. I don't think they made him smart enough to negate inertia and momentum.
Not too much.
And yet, as fast as he goes, he could still avoid doing that.
Well, maybe he's a scientist and figured it out. I thought maybe I'd save here just because I don't want to deal with it. And I thought, oh yeah, I forgot how to save, so... Don't need to, never mind. So I just thought I'd fake pray. So yeah, I care about gods. No, I'm going away. Again, another moment where we're not going to use aggro. Because it's water. Of course, aggro wouldn't help much in this one. Honestly, unless he had a scuba mask.
Which we know he does.
Of course. He made it.
Just doesn't want to share.
I just imagine him more in one of those, like, old-fashioned iron scuba suits. I found a seashell.
I think I found some reeds. Oh no, that's your air tank.
How could you confuse the two?
I'm a horse.
Whop, whop. Just a blank pause for a second. I'm a horse. You can't use that excuse, scuba diver scientist. So, swimming, obviously, because I swim like I've never swam before, means we got some time to kind of look at our surroundings here. Those 3 temples become key for the battle if you are following strategy. If you follow strategy, though, this fight is a pain in the ass. So I'm not going to follow strategy. But either way, those 3 temples are there. We still need to be able to know where the temples are, because they do become somewhat important to actually us killing the thing.
I'm kind of glad you started talking, because I had a really bad joke.
Well, good. We don't need to hear it. Or we do. I'm kind of curious now.
It's just aggro saying, every scientist has their limitations. Stephen Hawking can't walk.
Oh no. Too soon? So here comes the floating whatever the hell it is. A lot of them resemble some kind of creature, recognizably. This one I'm not sure. But he works within the projectile class. He actually can shoot you. I mentioned in one of the earlier Let's Plays that being able to dive is really important to key functionality. In this one, it definitely fits that. Without diving, you'd be screwed. But, whoa, hey.
Good morning.
You're supposed to climb to those temples and kind of hide and hope for him to walk by. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to swim right up to him. Because I'm going to get right behind him, and he's going to do nothing about that. The trick is to swim underneath his armpit. So eventually, his chest will push you forward until you can get behind him. And you have to do this underwater, because if you swim above the water, he can outpace you. But I'm going to keep swimming underwater until I get to his nice grassy back. His grassy ass. He's got a bit of a turtle shell, and he's like a bowl, and it's kind of weird.
I think he's Bowser.
Exactly, he is Bowser. But this is, honestly, I would say Bowser until we get to the top of his head, because I'll show you the most confusing part of him after he flops a bit. Look at those water particle effects. That's cool for a PS2 game.
That is.
In beautiful particles. I'm thinking of the greenness. I mean, as I mentioned, sometimes it comes off his hair, sometimes it comes off his grass. I can't tell if this is more of a grass, or maybe he's just covered in, like, moss and reeds and stuff from being underwater so long. But those protrusions on his head are the most confusing thing about him. They look like teeth.
I was about to say.
So is that his bottom jaw? Did he have a top of his head? But here's another confusing bit. You control him by hitting them. So it's in his brain, I suppose. So the trick is that each length of tooth will actually control how far he moves when you hit them. So if you hit the long teeth, he'll travel far distances. Short ones, he'll do short distances. But you want to get him near those temples, and he can knock you off. Yay, momentum. But this guy's ridiculous, because he only has one stab spot. And I have to do all this shit to be able to get to it. Gotta wait. And finally, this weird face guy with no face reveals his weird body and his one stab point. His belly.
I think that's lower than his belly.
And his dick! And his dick rib cage.
His dick cage.
His dick cage, exactly. His chastity belt.
Towards Mask Dick Cage version.
So this weird motherfucker just proved why he's tedious. You can stab him maybe once or twice before he jumps in the water again, and we gotta do this all over again.
But you're not following the rules.
But I'm not following the rules, so this will actually be a lot quicker than last time.
So, run by me again how you're supposed to fight this guy?
You're supposed to hide from him. You're supposed to hide near the temples, because as he approaches the temples, you're on the bottom layer, and he can hide behind pillars and stuff until he walks by, and then you jump on him. And then from there you can knock him towards the temple, but waiting for him to get near you takes forever. And usually just trying to swim up behind him, he's a lot faster than you, unless you wrap around his body like that. So I did the cheap way, and I just stuck to him like glue.
It's the cheap way. There's probably some people that are going, I never knew that!
It's like the people who talked about me killing the horse thing. I didn't know you grabbed it on the face. I thought that was the only way you could do it. But I discovered this way, first time I fought him, I tried hiding in the temple, and it just took forever, so I was like, God, you know what, I'm just gonna swim on him. And I finally figured out a way where I can keep up with him. But his body's just so oddly shaped. It's like a crab and a half a mouth bowl Bowser. And those are clearly teeth. So somehow we knocked off his top, somehow the top of his head's missing. But somehow the bottom of his teeth control his brain. Oh, my cavity! So, one thing also about him is that you can easily fall off by doing this because he starts really whipping around. So, with a lot of these later, Colossus, you just want to have that grip gauge ready to go at any point. Don't get too confident. Because you just... God, it's like a puppy inside of a car. What? Don't move that way. See? Like that happens. So I'm just going to watch him wander here and try to figure out a good way to get back on him. I'm irritated because I'm like, no, I'm not going to fall down again and start this over. There's a lot of moments like that in the game where I'm just like, I'm not willing to lock... See, you're not supposed to be able to do that. But fuck it.
I think the one thing about this fight, we're not doing it the way you're supposed to.
So if you're trying to follow it by a rule basis, don't do it by me. If you want to do it by a I'm going to get this out of the way basis, follow my rules. As I said, this is probably one of my least favorite ones to fight.
I think the real thing is, if you're going to do it by the rule basis, why?
Exactly. This guy is not fun to fight at all. You just want to get him out of the way so you can get to the next fun one.
I mean, he seems cool, but he does have that really unnerving design. He seems like something you'd see in Metroid.
He does look. He looks like a bull crab. Watch this. I'm lucky to get 2 stabs on him this time. If you're not used to fighting this guy, you'd be like, oh my god, I have to start over again.
It looked a lot like if you had the chance, you could have very quickly swum over and grabbed onto his head right there.
I could have. And the big thing is that, you know, he's starting to figure out what I'm trying to do, so he knocks over a temple, but he's stupid because I have 2 more temples, dumbass. But you showed me, boy, how... Some more armpit swimming. Somehow he seems to keep track of me, despite the fact that he has no eyes. He's actually, if you know, bringing out that point, he's also he's the only Colossus we could run to that has no eyes. But somehow he can always see you for some reason. It makes me feel like he can feel you in the water.
I was about to say, I'd imagine he, if he lives in the water, and the only sense he'd have is touch, he'd probably have some, I guess, some kind of sonar.
You'd think he'd be making more sounds, but he's for some of the other Colossus we fought, he's much quieter. He is a conundrum.
He's probably the Colossus they threw together at the last minute.
But the thing is, they had quite a few unused Colossus by design and stuff like that. Some really, really cool ones. Like ones that like ones that lived in trees and stuff like that they never used. But they used this one. I don't agree with that necessarily. This one could have been left in the Disney vault. I would have been okay with it.
I think this is the one Colossus that we can live without the mystery. Explain this, please.
I think and somehow, maybe because it has these teeth things, it's saying that this is one that was human controlled. That'd be the only thing I can think of any kind of plot relevance, is maybe they just designed to show like, hey, this one's actually a human servant that if you hit any teeth, they'll move around. Or maybe it was a complete Colossus at a point, but it got so torn up over time. What the hell is it? I don't care. Just die. To me, it reminded me first a lot of the second Colossus, but I can never see its bottom half, so screw it. So that is how you beat the most tedious motherfucker in the entire game. And I say that knowing that this next guy I fight brings the tedium to a whole new level. Mainly because I just do it bad, but oh god.
The next guy is the video I had to edit for him.
Yes. Because it's gonna be funny watching in your perspective. It's not gonna be nearly as bad as you think. Because it's just a lot of me being frustrated in-game and blaming the horse. I'm so glad that one's over. That one is one of the worst in my opinion. Not from the frustrating level, it's just boring.
Which it prompted a lot of discussion.
It did. More of a discussion what the hell it was. The more it showed itself, the weirder it got.
Yeah. Is there a bottom half?
It looked like there was. It acted like it was standing on its feet when it was about to die.
But it looked like it tapered off at the end. Like right at the water.
Maybe it has just a really deformed upper body or something.
And while at the bottom, they're perfectly normal human legs.
That'd be really weird. Normal size, too.
Yeah.
You just look down, it looks like a little growth, but it's like, it's just a pair of these little human legs just kicking in the water.
I'll happily, too.
Yeah. Whee! Or maybe that Colossus is like a baby Colossus. Like he was inside of it was like that water area was like an incubator where it's growing into another Colossus or something. I don't know. These are just random ideas that are popping in my head. It's an ugly-ass baby.